So, I wanted. This is a follow up video to the ending of Routine because I think it was interesting to say the least. And I did look at some theories of the ending because it wasn't really processing, if I'm being honest, in my head when I was playing the ending. What was happening? I was just like, okay, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. Now go to the canal. I completely missed that in the task, the way my character describes the task. In the end, he says, the canal needs me. So like, damn. So yeah, the character, and obviously he was sick, so he was infected. And the voice he was hearing, I thought the voice was like maybe his conscience, or I don't know, like a good voice that tells him keep going, don't give up. When in actuality, it was probably the fucking infection telling him to do this. And in the end, we did this thing where we put we injected something. What was it called? We injected some like ambiotic or something like that. Brine? Some ambiotic. Yeah. Injecting ambiotic brine in the ripening and induction, which is so weird. Like, a lot of the stuff doesn't really make sense. Like, why do you have a facility for ripening and induction where you have ambiotic brine? So ambiotic basically means in the what do you call it in English? I'm not a native English speaker, but where the baby in the womb, that's where the ambiotic fluid is. So if we are injecting ambiotic brine into the canal, we are basically, I guess, feeding the organism to create a baby, something like that. That's kind of the symbolism, I guess. So maybe it creates a new monster. Although the monsters, there's different theories on them too. Like, it's obvious that the robots are actually the good guys trying to contain the infection. But the monsters, it's unclear. But from the environmental storytelling of the game, it seems like they grow out of the human corpses once they are infected, and maybe even multiple corpses merge together, or I don't know. But yeah, the monsters aren't that clear. Although I read some guy's theory, because the monsters they kill you, right? If they get you. And the voice in your head, which is kind of like the hive mind of the infection, the organism. I think it's all one organism, right? The weird fungi stuff, the weird monsters, and so it's probably just different stages, like a metamorphosis, I would think. And although it's very unclear if it's fungi or if it's plant-like, because in some instances there's flowers on it. Like, fungi don't have flowers. And I know it's like reading a lot into a fucking video game, but it's interesting to think what they might have meant with this stuff and what it's supposed to be. So I think it's all one organism, and reflecting on the ending, obviously it talks to you, like it infects you, and then the voice is from the thing, from the organism, and it tries to get you to do its bidding. And you kind of unwittingly, you're unknowingly doing so, kind of, when you're playing the game. At least if you're not paying the utmost attention. Like, I didn't understand. I mean, when you think about it, it hits you. It's like, yeah, why am I putting amniotic brine into the canal? What is that? But I didn't even know what amniotic means until I Googled it. It's not even ambiotic, it's amniotic. Amniotic. Yeah, and amniotic means an amniotic is the amnion. Why is this in German? Wait a second. What do you call this? So, amniotic. I didn't know what this means until I Googled it. Right? It's relating to the amnion. Related to the bag and liquid that surround the embryo. Right? A developing young animal, mammal, bird, reptile, inside its mother. Amniotic fluid. An amniotic sac is or amnion is what contains the fetus and the liquid. And the amniotic liquid is what's inside it. So we are injecting the canal with amniotic brine. Basically feeding the organism to create some kind of baby. Some new creature, perhaps. And we're probably going to be just part of that creature because we're walking into the canal, right? At no point in this game were we trying to escape. And that's what's the wildest thing, I think. At no point, like every step we take throughout this game basically leads up to us feeding the organism and continuing its life cycle. So, yeah. That's crazy. So we are like, yeah. It makes it out to be in the beginning that you're just this engineer. You're trying to figure out what's happening. But more and more throughout the game, you could argue that maybe from the very beginning you were maybe controlled by the organism. You're shutting off the security system, the AI core and everything of the robots, and that makes easier for the being to control the facility, I guess. Yeah, it's interesting game. I thought till the end, like, we're gonna get out of there. We just gotta do this last thing, and then somehow our character will escape and we'll get home. But no, we were already mind controlled and just basically feeding the organism, and then we go in there willingly ourselves. Because we're already, the character is already kind of mind controlled, kind of, not there fully anymore, and he thinks he needs to do this, but in reality he's going to his own death. And then the fucking creature in the last cutscene, I think it's like the creature talking to you, and it's like, oh, together we live, I live through you. You live through me. And basically, it's kind of like a parasitic alien trying to convince you that this is for the good of all of us. It's like a symbiosis, right? When in reality, the creatures are vile and disgusting, violent, brainless, well, not necessarily entirely brainless, but like just primal creatures that who knows how they would live, how would they even come to be if there was no humans on the moon, right? If that organism lives on the moon, what would it be feeding on? Is there maybe other life on the moon? I mean, it's hard to imagine an organism just existing there without, any environments, like any ecosystem. But maybe it's just, it didn't live there. Maybe just some spores of it, or some, infected humans. Maybe there was just residue of some spores or something, and it came from space and infected the humans there. Or maybe some residue of like some spores was on the moon and infected the humans, and then the organism came really to be because of the human presence. Maybe it's some kind of manufactured, like some bioweapon that can infect mammals and assimilate their mass into these creatures that we saw, that can then eat the humans and feast on them. And the infectious part that goes into the human, that makes them hallucinate and believe that what they're doing is like kind of mind controls them, is part of that bioweapon. Or maybe it's just like a natural thing, right? Like you have these fungi that infect ants and kind of mind control them. I don't know what the fungi are called, but they mind control the ants, and the ants then climb up to some high place, and they stay there, and they die there, and then the fungi grows out of the ants, and spreads its spores. It's spores in the wind, right? That's why they go to the high place, so that the spores can be carried far and throughout. And maybe it's something like that, right? There's many organisms that, if you're infected with, can change your behavior, control your feelings, emotions, reactions, stuff like that. Like rabies is a crazy one. When you get rabies and you're like have a violent reaction towards water, that is crazy. If you've ever seen that, don't look it up. It's creepy. Unless you want creepy, then look it up. Stuff like that. Yeah, maybe it's something like the fungi. The infection, it infects a host, and then it starts mind controlling them. So it basically the host voluntarily goes to be eaten and become part of the biomass, maybe part of a new monster or abomination. I don't know what's the purpose of those monsters. One guy said in some Steam thread that maybe the monsters are just like baby aliens, and they don't even know, they're not fully developed, right? They're just like baby versions of something. I don't know. I feel like maybe they're just mutated humans. I mean, obviously they're kind of just mutated humans. It looked very human, the main monster, and you could see in the scene where it goes to watch the video at the screen, like it has an emotional world dimension to it, the being. But they don't look healthy. So if it was a life stage of the alien organism, you would assume it would at least look healthy, right? like a xenomorph. A xenomorph doesn't look like it's falling apart. But these monsters, they kind of looked like they were, barely holding together. There's just like some mutated biomass that is, kind of fucked. It looks like cancerous and just fucked up. So, I don't know. I would think more that they're maybe like just a mutated version. Maybe it's the organism trying to assimilate with the human cells. Maybe the people don't die, right? Maybe the human cells live on, but the organism injects its own cells into the human body and starts transforming it so that it's like a multi-species organism in the end, where you have the human cells and you have the cells of the organism, and it's like and that's maybe why it's fucked up, because it's not meant to be. So you have like a chimera of sorts, maybe you could say like that. And so, yeah, maybe that's what the monsters could be. But yeah, why does it exist? Why is it there? That's like the most pressing question, I feel like. Because there's no ecosystem on the moon for it to exist in, right? So some people in some Steam threads were talking about that maybe the moon is an organism itself. It's part of the moon. Maybe that's why there were tremors. I mean, the game is so kind of science-based and in many aspects kind of realistic in its style that I feel like that would be a little too fantastical. But I wouldn't rule it out. But everything you see, you could kind of explain with the scientific perspective, like even the monsters and even the visions, like hallucinations, like yeah, you could imagine something like that being possible if the organism can. We have organisms like the fungi that control the ants, right? They can manipulate the ants' perception and manipulate their desires, if you can call it that. It's an ant, but I mean they have they have something going on, telling them what to do. And so if the organism infects you and can somehow access your central nervous system, you could imagine that maybe it could induce visions and stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, why is it there? That doesn't really check out to me. Why is it there? There's no ecosystem. There's really nothing on the moon that we know of. And then it originated from the canal. Why is there a canal? What is the canal? But yeah, this unexplained attraction to that place. That's another parallel to that fungi that infects the ants, because the ants have an unexplained attraction to go onto high places. But we know that it's because the fungus wants to spread, right? Spread its spores. So maybe it's a similar thing. Maybe the organism is in the canal, right? And so it directs you to go there. So you become its food, right? But yeah, anyways, it's an interesting game. I didn't really pay that much attention. I was too distracted being scared of the fucking monster to realize that we're going slowly insane and doing its bidding of the organism and becoming food, basically, willingly. Crazy game, yeah.